All right, today we are going to talk about triangles and how to prove that they are congruent. So last time we talked about how we have to have, whenever we're looking at shapes and if they're congruent or not, we have to know that all of the sides are the same size and all of the angles are the same measure for the things to be congruent. Well, with triangles, there's actually some shortcuts we can take. Because of the way triangles are made, there are some things that we can use to our advantage to prove triangles are congruent without having to go to all three angles and all three sides being congruent. So, one of those ways is this first method. It's side, 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 and that is where all three sides are congruent. So all three sides congruent in both triangles. So like on this triangle here, we've got a triangle or a side with one tick mark, and that's congruent to this triangle with the side with one tick mark. 2 tick marks to 2 tick marks, 3 tick marks to 3 tick marks. So that's how we show that sides are congruent. So since every side has a side that matches up, that is going to be congruent. So that is, again, is side, side, side. All right. The next one we're going to look at is side, angle, side. And that is where we have, we don't have all three sides the same, but we do have two sides and an included measure, or angle measure. So if two sides are congruent in the angle between them, then that is considered a side, angle, side congruency, and those would be the same triangles. So side, angle, side. The next is angle, side, angle, and this is kind of along the same lines, except this time we're looking at the two angles around an included side. So it's kind of the vice versa of side, angle, side. Angle, side, angle is. So if you have an angle and another angle in the side that connects them, that is going to be angle, side, angle. Now, if you have two angles that are congruent and then a third or another side, but not the side that's between them, that would be considered angle, angle, side congruency. All right, and that also does prove that triangles are congruent. So if you have angle, angle, side, that does prove congruency. All right, the last example is it's a very specific case. So this only works in right triangles. So it's only in right triangles. And that is, there's a side of a triangle that's called the hypotenuse. And that's only in right triangles. It's the side that is opposite the right angle. So it's the side of the triangle that does not touch the right angle. If the hypotenuses of a triangle are congruent, and one additional leg is also congruent, then therefore we have a hypotenuse and a leg that are congruent. So this would be what we would call hypotenuse leg congruency, or HL is how we would write it. All right, so now let's play this out. This is how we are going to use what we just talked about. We're going to give you lots of different examples that you're going to look at and try to determine how we can prove that they're congruent, if we can. All right, so for number one, I have two sides with one tick mark, two sides with two tick marks, so those are congruent. Then I have another side that the triangles share that does not have any tick marks on it. But because they share that side, obviously it's congruent to itself. So if you need to visualize this, you can put some tick marks there to show that that side is congruent to itself. So now we have 1, 2, 3 sides that are congruent, so we would call this side, side, side. Okay. So that's how we can prove that those two triangles are congruent. Now if you look at example 2, we have sides that have 1 tick mark on them. We have sides that have 2 tick marks on them, and that's all we are given. Well, we do have something else happening here. If you notice here in the triangles on example 2, they meet at an intersection point at a vertex, and they do not touch, so therefore they are vertical angles. So we have two sides that are congruent with their included angle. So that is side, angle, side. All right, next, number 3. I have an angle that is congruent, and I have two sides. The problem is the two sides do not contain the angle. The angle is outside the two sides. So that would be side, side, angle, or angle, angle, side. And that is not one of our methods of proving congruence. So those are not congruent. All right, number 4, and by the way, on number 3, they may be congruent. We just can't prove that they're congruent. So I can't make the statement that they are 100% congruent. So we would say not congruent. All right, number 4. We have an angle pair with one arc mark. That is congruent. We have an angle pair with two arc marks. Those are congruent. And then I have a side that is shared between them. So because of that, I have angle, angle, side congruency. All right. In triangle 5, an example 5, I have a right angle, and that right angle is on a shared side. So that means that there's a right angle on both a left triangle and the right triangle. I also have a shared side, so that means that it's congruent to itself. So what here I have, since I have a right angle, that side that is opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse, and the other side that touches the right angle is a leg. So this is hypotenuse leg. All right. In example 6, I have a shared side here in the middle. I have a right angle here, so that's also a right angle. And then I have congruent the other legs. So I don't have the hypotenuse on this one, so it's not hypotenuse leg. But I do have a side and another side with the angle between them. So that is side, angle, side. All right. Number 7. For number 7, I have an angle with one arc mark that is congruent, and I have a side with one arc mark. Those are congruent. And then I also have vertical angles here in the middle, and vertical angles are congruent. So therefore, I have angle, side, angle. All right. For number 8, I have a side with one tick mark, a side with two tick marks, and vertical angles here in the middle. However, these are not congruent because the angle is not included between the sides. So this would be not congruent. All right, and number 9. I've got an angle with one arc mark, angle with two arc marks, and an angle with three arc marks. So I have all three angles are congruent. However, that does not prove congruency. Angle, angle, angle is not one of our ways to prove congruency. So we would say that is not congruent. All right, well, that does it for the notes for today. If you have any questions, please shoot me an email or Canvas message, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Have a blessed day, and see you next time.